Hello, welcome to For Such a Time as This, Biblical Hope in a World Gone Mad. I'm Jan James, and my friend and life coach Cinthia Hiett and I are sitting down for some timely conversations about our crazy world today. Our goal is to encourage and equip you to reflect Christ in your world. So sit back, soak it up, and let's get started. Hello, and thanks for joining us again for another episode in our limited series called For Such a Time as This, Biblical Hope in a World Gone Mad. And today, along with my friend and life coach Cinthia Hiett, we're going to talk about courage. Courage. Oh, I almost felt like the cowardly lion right there. Courage. I wish I could say it like him. Hi, Cinthia. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Oh, I wanted to do this topic because it's just near and dear to my heart right now. I feel that God has put me in different situations recently that have caused me to kind of muster up my courage to respond to things that have happened to me, whether it's been being canceled in my own support groups for being a Christian. I got yelled at by people for doing that. And I had to push back because that's who I am, but people are so prone to want to attack right now. And I think that what I found in that situation is that courage can be contagious, because once I stood up for my Christianity, others in the support group stood up for theirs as well. Do you find that? Do you find that courage is contagious?
Absolutely. I think it the more that we have it in a group situation, the more that we are able to hear somebody else that expressed courage. Every time we hear about somebody standing up for a value that is a healthy value, what we would say a loving value, any of these positive values, it always causes everyone to think, I can do that too. I can take a stand as well. I don't have to just sit back and hope that nobody gets mad at me or that nobody cancels me or walks away from me. Instead, we can say, if those people cancel me, walk away from me, ignore me, shame me, then that's really good evidence for me about not being interactive with them, because it means they're not safe people.
Right.
Because see, safe people can tolerate a difference of an opinion. Safe
Mhm.
people can say, I still value you as a person. I don't know if our value system will allow us to be friends, though.
Mm.
And that's a much more adult way. That's a much more peaceful way. It's still saying the same thing. It's saying, hey, I value you. It's kind of like when I say to clients, do you decide whether or not you will help someone off the ground? If they are, do you ask them first, hey, are you for this cause? And
Oh,
if they say no, do you keep them laying on the ground?
no, you say, help me.
Exactly. And so this is where, we have to recognize that courageousness should not be about whether we like or dislike a person, a group, or an idea.
Mhm.
Courageousness should be, if I'm being courageous enough to stand up for my own ideal and it conflicts with yours, I still can be polite,
Right.
because that's part of being courageous. It's not easy to be polite. It's much easier to be hateful and nasty and mean and contradictory and critical. It's a lot easier to do that. It's harder to find the higher part of yourself and say, that makes me sad. I don't agree with you on that at all, but I respect your opinion.
Mhm.
I have to be best friends with them.
Right.
I can
Right.
treat them politely and kindly. And I talk a lot with people about courtesy and politeness. It's amazing how much it calms down the central nervous system.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, if you've ever bumped into somebody in the grocery store accidentally with your cart and they turn around and look at you and they're about ready to, jump down your throat, if you say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Did I mess up anything for you? What do? Oh, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it.
Right. Right.
If I'm a jerk about it, well, then
Mhm.
they're going to get defensive, and all of a sudden now we're going to go to war over nothing.
Right. 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 Wow, that's really interesting. I'm just thinking about um, some of the scenarios that I've been in where where courage, I'm going to say courage for me
Mhm.
was important, you know, sharing my faith, things of that nature. But in our conversations prior to this episode, you were making an excellent point that courage in 2022 is quite a bit different than in
Any other time,
1822.
or any other time. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, but still, if you think about what our ancestors faced
Mhm.
and the kind of courage they needed to muster up for what they were facing. Can
Right.
you speak to that for a minute?
Well, yes, because a lot of the courage that we have studied way, back, hundreds of years, or even in the 1900s, right? That courage usually had something to do with physicality.
Mm,
Okay. And so if you weren't physical enough to take someone on, then you would have to think twice as to whether or not I'm going to confront that person. But see, the difference in the 21st century is we rarely have people actually engaging because nobody wants to touch each other anyways. Okay. So ridiculous. So it's the war of words. It's, being really angry and being scary in that way, and using language and hitting below the belt and going lower than anybody would ever go. That's what they're fighting with now. And so being courageous with that are things like, well, can I keep my self-composure while someone's losing theirs? Do I have to
mhm,
join in? Or can I just step back and observe and say, wow, you must be having a really bad day. And I certainly didn't want to encourage more of it. So I'm just gonna go on, do my shopping. Hope your day turns around for you better.
right.
So, but that's courageous because see, the tendency, you have to remember our physical body, the physiology of us is always going to defend ourselves. Our body is hardwired to live until the day it dies. And so it's going to do everything it can to live. So the body has its own mind and it will survive. Now, it may not survive in a very pretty way, but it will survive. And so we as people that want to be decent, want to be compassionate people, want to be polite people, that doesn't mean that I don't take people on. I do. You've experienced that before,
Mhm,
right? I can take people on and I can use my words instead of trying to think that I have to be some, like, you know, I don't know, full blown, football star or something, right?
mhm,
So I can depend on my words. I can depend on my composure. I can depend on the pacing that I use when I speak. And I can depend also on my tenacity. How much do I believe in this?
mhm,
Okay, when I work with people about confrontations, I say to them, you have to think about, what will I lie for? Right? What would I die for?
mhm,
Okay. What would I run for? And see, these kinds of things are, am I going to actually die on that hill because that person was impolite to me? Am I going to do that? Or am I going to simply say, you're having a bad day, I don't want to make it worse, I'm walking away?
mhm.
So it has everything to do with how much control I have of myself, is
Yeah.
a very courageous concept to have.
Mhm.
If
Yeah,
I,
it takes
yes,
that old line, "It takes two to tango," is
right,
very
that's right.
true. If you sense that a conflict is arising, it's so much better to just say, I need a timeout. I need to walk away right now.
Or
I'd
this
li
isn't something I want to argue about. If you
Mhm,
win, you win. I don't want to argue about it. I'd rather us walk away in peace.
mhm,
And
right.
that's where if someone's taking on your value system, like let's say that you're in a group of people and someone starts mistreating another person, verbally, maybe even physically, well then what do we do? Is it courageous to put a stop to it? Absolutely.
Mhm,
But I have to also figure out how much I can do that. Am I able to do that? Or do I need to go get some help?
mhm,
Right? To
mhm,
say, hey, this person is really harming this person. I need you to help me come and get them to stop.
Right.
I need to call the police, or so this is where we don't want to constantly get in this all or nothing issue. I'm either full in, I'm going to take them down, or I'm running away.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would be amazed at how receptive people are when we're calm and say, that's not okay. That's not okay. There's got to be a different way. What can you do? And if they're like, this is the way I'm going to do it, you can say, well, then I guess you need to leave. And if you don't leave, then we can call the police and you will leave.
So you're saying it really even takes courage to set good, healthy boundaries.
Right. That's right. And the more convinced I am of the boundary, the more they believe it. See, if I'm sure of it, like I just said, I was still speaking in a normal voice, but I was very confident about what I'm saying. I said, here's the deal. This isn't acceptable. If you don't stop, I'm going to get help to stop you. And if that's not enough, then we'll call the police. So you have a choice. Do you want to stay at the party and enjoy it, or do you need to leave?
Mm-hmm.
And so the more confident I am about it, usually people just go, I'm out, whatever. There's something wrong with you. You're this, you're that, call me a name, whatever, and they walk away.
Right.
So it's very rare that someone's like, I'm taking it all on. I'm taking you down,
Mm-hmm.
Usually that would mean maybe, I don't know, drugs are involved, alcohol's involved, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I continue to think about our ancestors and what they went through. I mean, like if
Yes,
I'm
yes.
I'm a fan of some of these shows that show the settlers coming across the country and that kind of thing. And they were facing Indians with bows and arrows, and weather. They didn't have the Weather Channel at that time, so weather would creep up on them and destroy the wagon train and things of that nature. And it was courageous to even take that trip.
Exactly. And so you're thinking of physically courageous.
Mm-hmm.
So we have mentally courageous, spiritually courageous, okay, physically courageous, educationally courageous.
Oh.
And so how are we going to be decent, courageous people in all of those realms?
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about the settlers, like I remind people about whether or not we're in survival. And I say to people, okay, you got your feelings hurt. That's not going to you shouldn't go into survival because of that. Okay. Survival mode is to survive, and survival is never pretty. So I say to them, if the smoke detector, starts to beep at your house, to immediately call 911. No, we go check it out. Maybe it's just a bad battery. Okay. So we're not going to call the fire department because our smoke detector is making weird sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people about this story of the Donner Party. And yes, and this is so powerful when I tell them, because I say, they're coming across the United States for the gold rush. They want to get to California. They want to get across the mountain range, because if they don't get on the other side of the mountain range, the winter, they will die on the mountain, right? And so I remind people, so the Donner Party, is going as fast as they can. They get caught on the mountain, and the winter comes and the snow comes, and all the people in the town are like, oh my gosh, the Donner Party didn't make it. So spring comes, and all of a sudden the Donner Party's coming down the mountain. And all the people in the town come out, they're like, oh my gosh, they survived. And, they're heroes and all of this. And then they find out how they survived, and they ate the dead people.
Mm-hmm.
So I say to people, that makes sense. It's ugly, but it makes sense. Okay. This is survival. These people are brave. I don't know. I couldn't do that. I would have to make sure that it was my husband, and I didn't want to know what they were doing. Right. So it's very brave to be able to survive in that manner. Now, let's contrast that with if somebody is going to Safeway, right? And Safeway's right down the street. They have the credit card and the money to get there in a car, but they decide to eat their neighbor. Okay. And so context is very important when we're thinking about being courageous. So right now in our society, we are all living in the fight and flight mode. Like everything is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is really that dangerous right now, except getting your feelings hurt.
Oh, that's such a good point. Such a good point.
Even the homeless people are managing and are being taken care of. And so I'm not saying that that's a good lifestyle, and I would like to help them get out of it, but they're surviving. They are, and if they want to take advantage of any other options, they could. And I would hope that they do, because I believe every human's valuable. But we want to think about, why am I in survival? Because my feelings got hurt, or I got disappointed, or someone let me down, or somebody said, God forbid, the no word.
Mhm. It's really like the I don't know, I've been saying World War III is a communication war.
It is.
It's, you know, I mean, we're in the midst of it because words are being used like weapons
Absolutely.
by everyone, children even. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just really, it's astounding. Ugh.
Well, and I told you about their book, where they said how words can change your brain.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and that whole thing of understanding how your brain responds to a word.
Hmm.
And so you either ignite your brain and put yourself into the fight, flight, or freeze, or you calm your brain down and it says, okay, we're going to survive this. We don't have to go all out. This is not that dangerous. Well, I have to tell my brain that. See, my brain is working for me. Yeah, I remind people, you don't see brains floating to heaven, okay?
Hmm.
It's part of our body, but it is a very important, one of the most important parts of our body. So my brain, if it starts thinking that I'm getting scared, I got my feelings hurt, then it starts to perceive the whole entire event as dangerous.
Hmm.
Well, that changes my whole demeanor.
Sure.
Now, if I'm acting as if everything's dangerous, then everybody else starts to think I'm dangerous too. So they get worked up. And so now we're all kind of skittish about one another. Like, I don't know if I can trust this person. This is a really weird thing. And we start thinking all the worst case scenarios, because that's how our brain prompts us to be able to fight.
Right.
So
Right.
if our brain is thinking that we are going to get into a situation that we may not survive, it's going to tell us all the things about the situation that are bad.
Mhm.
Not going to tell me, hey, Cynthia, it's no big deal. Just you're having a hard time. You're having a feeling right now. See, that's the higher functioning me. That's me, my identity that says, Cynthia, okay, they were rude. This is not
Mhm.
dangerous. This is irritating, annoying, and frustrating. This is not dangerous if they are rude.
Right.
If
Right.
they don't like me, if they are speaking against me, whatever it is, it's not dangerous. I can walk away. I have a car. And if I don't have a car, I can get a taxi.
I'm pretty sure our mom said sticks and stones. You know, we all grew up with that, right? That
Except
it's
that
words. It's words. It's not words. You know, I heard
the
something on. Go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
the saying says, but words can never hurt me. And what that's saying, what that nursery rhyme was trying to say, is that words cannot physically harm you.
Right.
So you can walk away.
Right.
They're not saying that you're not going to get your feelings hurt.
Hmm.
They're saying that sticks and stones will break your bones. That's a different kind of harm.
Hmm.
See, someone being mean to you and nasty and saying and cussing and swearing at you and all those things, that is uncomfortable, but it is not dangerous unless I engage.
Hmm.
Then it can become dangerous. I can
Right.
walk away. I can get in a car. I can drive away. I can go to the bathroom, shut the door.
Hmm. Absolutely. You know, I'm just thinking about one of the examples I was thinking of prior to us recording this episode. I find it really interesting and somewhat disturbing to see so many parents standing before school boards defending their children because of the pornography that's been infiltrating our school system, the drag queen shows, I mean, it's just, it's
Mhm,
so out of whack.
mhm.
But those parents are mustering up courage to protect their children.
That's
But
right.
their weapon is words, right? Their weapon is, hi, I know you're on the school board, but guess what? You're not gonna ever get voted in again.
Mhm.
And so it's such an effective I think, way of fighting this. I'm so grateful that God revealed that evil in our education system,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah.
a different kind of courage we're seeing a lot of these days.
Well, see, and that's where it's different. Like, I mean, I know for me, sometimes I would rather see the concrete thing I'm afraid of, right? It's
Mhm.
harder to battle the war of content, of, you know, the atmosphere, the emotional atmosphere. It's
Mhm.
harder to address that and conquer that. So I remind people the best way to conquer words is with peace and confidence of your own, on your own value system. I'm always polite, because it makes it hard for someone that I'm confronting to go after me if I'm being polite.
Mm.
See, I'm not igniting that fight, flight, or freeze part of their brain. See, all of a sudden they're like, okay, she's got it, maybe has a point. Or they'll be like, well, I just don't want to talk to you right now. I'm like, okay, well, I appreciate being able to do as little as we did.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I really practice being polite, because courtesy is one of the number one ways to settle people down.
Mm.
Always. All of a sudden, it makes them go, oh, I can relax. Okay, maybe I don't need to get that big.
Mhm.
And I've had that happen several times. People are like, okay, I'm just having a bad day. I need to settle down.
Mhm.
But what it does for us is the people that I am courteous to and they respond, that tells me they're safe people. Not
Mhm.
perfect people, okay? Because they started the argument to begin with, okay? So they're not perfect, but
Right.
they're decent, okay? The people that don't respond to courtesy, those are the ones that are more dangerous, because they really don't care and they don't have a value system, and they are all about power.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's the overcoming a person that they are wanting. It's the winning that they want to have.
One of the things that I have just for years been using so effectively to diffuse situations is that courtesy. And I'm just
Mhm.
remembering not too long ago, I was going into the bank drive-through, and
Mhm.
there's a long driveway going towards the drive-through, but you have to make like a U-turn back into it, okay? And there were three lanes of drive up windows, with the little overhead thing that goes back to the bank and all that. And because I was coming in from that other driveway, I had to make a sharp turn.
Mhm.
And what happened is there was a woman in a truck that I inadvertently cut off.
Mm.
And truly, I was like, "Ooh, do I stop? Do I go?" And I just went, I mean, because we were both at the same point at the same time.
Right.
And oh my gravy, I looked over at her to apologize. She was 2 lanes away from me now in the bank drive-through. And she had rolled down her window and was absolutely out through the window giving me heck about what
Mhm.
happened.
Mhm.
And so I rolled down she was to the right of me, so I rolled down my passenger window and I said, "I am so sorry that that happened. Are you okay?" And she kept yelling. And I said, "It sounds like you're having a tough day. I'm
Mhm.
going to pray for you."
Mhm.
And she started to weep.
Yes. Yes.
Now it was so, and I said, "Don't worry." I just said, "Praying for you." And she rolled her window back up and I could see her, fixing her or trying, wiping her tears and such. And then we both got up to the drive-through at the same time. And then she's signaling, or let me think about this. Oh no, I rolled my window down and signaled to her again. So she rolled her window down and I said, "Would you like a hug?" And she said, "Oh," and so she got out of the drive-through before me. She rolled into a spot. When I was done, I rolled up next to her and she met me at my car door. I mean, I couldn't even get out of my car fast enough. And she was like hugging me like she'd
Yeah.
never been hugged before.
Yeah.
Her husband had just been put in the hospital that morning.
Oh my
So
God.
she was totally on edge, right? We just never know what's going on in other
See,
people's
yes.
lives.
Yes.
And
Don't
was that brave for me to do it? It didn't feel brave. It felt
very
like the
brave.
right thing to do,
No.
but I guess
brave.
I guess I was taking a risk that I could be
Yeah, it's
rejected
very
more.
brave because you didn't know what the outcome was. You just knew what you knew the right thing to do. That she, and it wasn't because you did anything wrong, it's because she misperceived what was happening. You were
Mm,
in just as like I don't know what to do here. Do I go forward? Do I stay back?
yeah.
Who's going? And so, this is where the more we are willing to give someone the benefit of the doubt, right? That helps tremendously because I don't judge them ahead of time. I do judge them afterwards. Like if I gave them the benefit of the doubt and they were a complete jerk,
Hmm.
and I go, okay, that's not a good person. As far as I know,
Mm,
I wanted to see what kind of a person they are, but all they're showing me is that they're a bad person. So I'm not going to judge them for that in terms of whether I know their heart. I am going to judge whether or not I'm going to pursue anything,
mm,
right?
right.
So why, you pursued something. You said, "Oh, can I give you a hug?" Okay, so that has everything to do with all of a sudden we all became human again.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I remind
yeah.
people about humans. I said, you do know that we're mammals. We're mammals. We need to be seen. We need to be touched. We need to be part of a group. We need to know that we're safe. That's what all blooded mammals need.
Hmm.
And so when we recognize that, we can start to say, okay, I got a trigger. I'm scared. That person seems kind of dangerous to me. Now, let's redo the words. I'm nervous and I don't know where that person is at.
Hmm.
So I probably need to proceed with some caution.
Hmm.
So those words help me not to ignite like they're dangerous. Oh my gosh, they're gonna what should I do? I'm pinned in here now. I gotta get out of here. Now all of a sudden I'm ramping up.
I'm just thinking about what the cost is to be brave. What's the trade-off? What's the,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
it's a risk. The cost
Hmm.
is a risk, but the payoff is huge because
Hmm.
even if that person doesn't respond well to me, I get to walk away feeling good about myself,
Hmm.
which means that I'm still a safer person to the next people that I run into.
Hmm.
So I'm not bringing that. It's kind of like, it's kind of like a cold. Okay. Being impolite, nasty, and mean and angry is kind of like a cold. As soon as you get around a person with that, you catch it
Right.
because they're mad. Now they're mad at you. Now you get mad because they're mad. Okay.
Right.
And it's like we go, oh my gosh, I'm catching that disease. I caught it from them. I can get
Right.
rid of this.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
can relax my body. I can breathe. And because oxygen is the only thing that will completely take in all of those stress hormones. Okay. So the
Mm.
best way to get rid of all that, fight, flight, or freeze, all those neurotransmitters, all that stress and anxiety. I'm not thinking of the word the way I want to think about it, but it's like the only way to get rid of that feeling is to breathe.
Isn't that a miracle? The way
Mhm.
God made
Yeah.
us. I
And
mean,
so yes, this is why when we say to people, hey, relax your shoulders,
mhm.
take a deep breath, and it doesn't mean that it still doesn't bother me, but it doesn't have the same intensity. All of a sudden, I'm now back in control of me. And
Mm.
if I'm in control of me, I'm always a safer person because I have more energy to be aware of you.
Right.
See, if I'm not in charge of me, I have to think about me all the time.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, it is a miracle that number one, God gave us the hormones for fight or flight, but then God also gave us the antidote, which,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's so
And
beautiful.
think about it. He is the word that became flesh.
Mhm.
So he is the word. He's the antithesis of all the words that God has. He's walking them all out.
Right. Amazing stuff.
And so
So,
when we think about how God created the world, he spoke it into existence. So
right.
I don't want to get all metaphysical, but part of us speaking things out
Mhm.
tells our brain to make it happen.
Right.
So it's not like magic, like I speak it into existence. No, it's that my brain then creates a neural net for me. If I say I'm having a bad day, my brain goes, oh, I thought we were having a good one, but now she tells me we're having a bad one. So it starts to tell me all the bad things that are happening throughout the day. And I start to go, that is the fifth thing that's happened to me today.
Mhm.
And because now my brain is focused on finding that for me.
Mhm.
Instead of me saying, wow, I could have a bad day, or I could reset myself right now and have a really good day. And I could trust that there are good things in this day for me. I can trust that people are good at heart. Most of them really want to be good people. And all of a sudden, every interaction that I have with people becomes different. I'm not
Mhm.
defensive anymore. I'm not on guard.
Love that. Yeah. You know, I'm a big fan of Mel Robbins. And I think the thing that Mel is most known for, she was a lawyer, you know, she was a news commentator. She's had a lot of gigs, but she's written a lot of books, and I really love her YouTube channel and still consume that pretty regularly. But I've read several of her books, but I think she's most known for a little trick that I think millions of people have been impacted by, and it's called the 5-second rule.
Mhm.
And the reason I like her stuff is because, yes, she's like a practical coach, but she also always ties in the physiology.
Mhm.
And she explains that your brain, as you said earlier, your brain is different than your mind. Your brain is an organ, it's a physical organ in your body. And your brain perceives fear and excitement as the same thing.
Mhm.
Your brain wants to keep you in homeostasis. So your brain, when it senses fear or excitement, wants to keep you on the couch, let's say. you know, you don't want to do that. That could be scary. Oh, that's dangerous. Oh no, right? It just wants to,
Might regret that.
right.
So,
Oh, you don't want to do that. So the story of Mel, you can find her, I'll put a link to her YouTube video about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She did a great TED talk that's about 20 minutes long, but she said she had been thinking about that concept, and she was laying in bed, and she knew she needed to get up and get working on the book, or get working on a book, I'm sorry. And she said she's just laying there, and it was cold in the room and it was warm in the bed, and she was having a really hard time to do it. But she said all of a sudden she just said to herself silently, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she got out of bed.
Mhm.
And she, in kind of thinking through that, said, it doesn't work to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because every one of us has been in the classroom or in the assembly hall at school when they say, take your seats, 3, 2, 1, and everybody sits down. It's almost like a rocket ship blast off, right? It's like, it's got to happen as soon as 1 is said.
well,
So,
it ignites your brain.
right.
Told your brain what you want it to do, and now you're counting down your brain. So your brain is now making your body it's getting your body to buy into it.
Yeah, so super cool physiologically, I think, about what it does. And so she talks about the fact that she goes and speaks on many stages, and she's absolutely petrified about it. But she also knows that fear and excitement are kind of being recognized by the brain in the same way. So she can just use the 5-second rule every time that she goes on stage, because she understands it's really excitement that she's after, right? So I want to take that concept and talk about something that's really, I am preparing myself for this, and I think I want to challenge our listeners to prepare for this too. It just seems wholly obvious to me that we are in for a revival for Christianity like probably in no other time. And God put each one of us on this earth for such a time as this. Some of you may be comfortable sharing your faith and do it regularly, and there are others of you that have never shared your faith. And and that puts you into fight or flight. that puts you into, oh wait, fear or excitement. Oh no, I would never. Oh, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I say the wrong thing and they'll never come to the kingdom. They'll never, what if I screw it up? What if, okay, knock it off.
Well, that's the fear, that the false evidence appearing real.
Right. FEAR,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And so you have to think about when I really tested God on some things, and I don't mean tested like,
Yeah.
but I mean that what I thought was like scary to say to him, right?
Mhm.
One of the things I realized is that when God is asking us to share our experience of him, okay, he's really more in control of it than we are, because he still is his own being. He's going to show up if he wants to show up.
Right.
Okay. And so he's already put into motion the fact that none of us can mess it up for him. Okay.
Right.
He's God. He's God. So he just loves our attempts. And so when I think about, my cat, I think about, little kiddos and their attempt at doing things. It's darling, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they mess up.
Right.
We're seeing them grow up. We're seeing them become more of who they're supposed to be. So
Mhm.
anytime we take risks with God and we say, I'm not going to worry if I'll mess it up for him. I can't mess it up for God. So he just likes to see me try. He loves to see me take risks and loves to see me growing. That's what I'm doing when I take risks. So it doesn't mean that it always works. It doesn't have to work. It's the
Yeah.
risk. It's the risk.
And listen, the biggest thing I would say to other folks is, all it is telling your story. It's your story. No one can argue with your story.
And if they want to judge it, then that has a lot more to do with them, because probably
Yes.
something you said ignited something in them that they've been trying to put out, they don't want to deal with. It's kind of like
Exactly.
we went to church this morning and there's this little Hispanic girl, maybe this tall. Okay. I mean, like really little, darling. And she's running through the church. Okay. Like she just learned how to run. Okay. And the dad is taking pictures of her as she's running. And it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. Right. And it reminds me of how God really, in his heart of hearts, he absolutely sees us as children. We are not contemporaries with him.
Right.
We're friends. We're a friend of God.
But we're children.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And he loves little children. And so the best thing I could do is practice what little children do. I can be honest as best as I can. I can take risks, right? I can be honest about my emotions. That's how little kids are, very honest about their emotions, and I can depend on the father, my parent, who loves me. I can depend on him, and he likes it when I depend on him. I mean,
Right.
I like it when my clients depend on me. You like
Sure.
people depend on you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a
Absolutely.
wonderful feeling. It's like, good, I want to be that person for you.
Mhm.
You're growing and changing and becoming more of who you're supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. I think we're going to have a beautiful opportunity. I mean, who knows? Nobody knows, but my sense is that the world will get worse before it gets better. And
I think it has to,
yeah, yeah.
because there's a tolerance that God has, and we haven't hit that tolerance yet. That's what the flood was about.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tolerance for God.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, that's it. And he flooded the entire planet, right?
Right.
He left 9 people, not the best 9 people, but
Yeah, right. It's true, right? Yeah, yeah. But I think that no, the world needs to be rid of the depth of evil that's been revealed. I mean, I'm sure it's worse than anything that we've ever even imagined, but
well,
God knows. Yeah.
and you have to know that love and hate are energies, right? So, we want that positive energy is the thing that we're supposed to be moving toward, is to make more of that to overcome, negative energy. And so we have to realize, though, that both are quite enticing.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're not perfect people. So if I'm enticed to do something I know is wrong, it's evil, I can't get mad at myself for that. I just have to address it. I have to say, okay, I have a choice here. Who do
Yeah.
I want to be? What kind of person do I want to be? I can do either or. I can go for it, and I can waller in it as long as I want, and
Ugh.
or I can say, it's tempting, and I'm not taking the bait. It never works.
Yeah,
It never works out.
yeah, the older we get, the more we understand that, right? Yeah,
Yes.
that's really true. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, listen, thanks for kicking around this topic. I think it's important for folks to understand that being courageous for the Lord is really, it's a big
And,
deal.
and
So
yes, and think about courageousness is catching.
yeah,
It's very catching. So when we are courageous in just doing the right thing, we inspire other people to think they can do the right thing the next time as well.
right. Courage is contagious. Yes. Indeed, my friend. Well, thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit to talk about this
Oh,
topic.
thank you. I love these conversations.
It's fun. It's fun. It's just us girlfriends chatting.
I
We
know.
hope that it feeds the souls of those that see it. So that's really our goal. We really want to encourage folks to walk out their faith and really just be strengthened by what we know about God, and to really reflect Christ in their world, in their sphere. So yeah, really looking forward to the next time.
Can
And
can I say one thing?
yes, ma'am.
It's super important that people recognize when we say walk out our faith, it doesn't mean that we're scripturally competent. It means walking out our faith is being courageous and knowing that we have a choice of right or wrong. And that being courageous means I'm going to do the right thing, even if it's no fun, and even if it hurts, even if I'm ridiculed, and so that kind of walking it out, that's really where we are honoring God more than anything, not in big endeavors necessarily,
No, right.
in overcoming our fallenness.
It's true. No, it's the little things that I think about. I I have a really big Facebook tribe, I guess, whatever, big. And recently, God released me to start throwing out, I call them, I don't know, truth bombs, I guess. But I'm just kind of throwing out things that the mainstream news is not putting out. And at the beginning, it was really interesting because I knew it would be divisive. I have people on pretty much every side of the agenda. I think I have a very wide range of people that follow me. And so but you know what? I love a great conversation. I really do. I'm not afraid of a great conversation. And so if people, lit up and were mad, which some were, I would just really respond in love and just say, tell me about that. I'm sorry that you don't agree with that, but I'm trying to make sure that folks know the news that's not really being reported.
Right.
And sometimes it would, that reply back and forth thread would be really lengthy. And I was thinking, God is so cute. I mean, I call him cute all the time, and he and I giggle a lot together. That's one of our things. But, he's so cute about the way he puts together those kinds of encounters, because I just know that hundreds of people were watching that interaction. And I feel absolutely 1,000,000% great about the way I responded to each and every person, because my heart was in the right place. And I think it created a safe space for them to even vent, and some of them took it offline, and we've had other conversations, and some in person even. And
Well,
so
you helped him be courageous.
yeah,
By speaking out what they were experiencing instead of holding it in and taking it out on somebody else.
yeah, that's a really good point, right? Don't you think everybody feels like they're in a pressure cooker right now, that they're keeping everything in?
Yes.
And wow, yeah. So how do you, I mean, that term, let some steam off, really, it's the pressure cooker. We have to find a way to do that. So, maybe there are some places where you can start to have conversations. It's words. I even had some friends kind of call me out, and so, truly some friends that I've known for quite a long time saying, wow, you've really changed. And I said, well, times have changed. And so I guess that's probably true. Don't you think you've changed over the last several years?
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think, yes, I have. And I think that one of the things that has helped me change in the right direction to become more confident about speaking, truth, about speaking, it's discussing things that are right or wrong, different ways, is that, the more that we are courageous in, but polite at the same time. And see, one of the things that I do, if I have to have a conversation with somebody, I will not have a conversation with them until I've said it out loud to myself and talked to myself.
Mm.
And so it helps me to get a lot of the intensity out. So I'll talk to myself in front of the mirror and I'll say, I want to say this and this and this and this, and I'll just talk out loud and I'll figure out what I'm going to keep and what I'm not going to say. But I at least got to say it out loud. I got it out.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't feel compelled to have to tell the person everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps me distill it down, into like, okay, now this is a conversation they can tolerate, and I'm going to tell them the truth. And I've practiced it, so I feel confident about it. I don't feel nervous to say it. I'm not unsure. I can be really confident and kind and polite and loving and patient and all those things that I wouldn't be able to do if I was just doing it cold.
Right.
So I don't want to have,
Yeah.
I don't want to have the regrets.
Mm-hmm.
That I walk away going, why did I say that? Or why didn't I say that?
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a great tip. Yeah, I should try that too. Now, so Greg will be walking by going, you're talking to yourself in the mirror again.
My husband said that. He goes, who are you talking to today, Cinthia? I say, it's none of your business.
You're right. Yeah, so he's pretty used to it, right?
Right.
Oh, wow. That may be happening at the James household soon. Oh, no. I'll have to warn him. Another Cinthia is
It's a great way to do it in the car because, see, everybody thinks you have Bluetooth, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's weird for talking out loud in the car.
Yeah,
So
it used to be that way, but not anymore.
I talk to all kinds of people in my car on the way to work. I just got loud. I talked to my mom. I talked to my neighbor. I talked to, and I got all stuff out. And then I get to work and I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
Okay, good. That works out fine. Good. You're a dress rehearsal girl. That's it.
Exactly. Well, it's really good for introverts.
Yeah, exactly.
I always walk away from a situation if I haven't rehearsed it. And I go, oh, I should have said that. Or why didn't I say that? And so this helps introverts especially not have regrets. Yeah. And it also helps extroverts to not say too much.
Yeah, that's the truth, because sometimes, just the emotion gets away from you, and you just keep blabbering and it's not important. So yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense. Oh my gosh, you're full of wisdom, my friend. Thank you so much. So we're going to figure out what our next topic is. Who knows? I don't know. The suspense is killing me. I can't wait. Okay, folks. Well, we're going to sign off now. This is Jan James for Cinthia Hiett, and this is another episode. I think we'll be calling it Courage is Courageous. And the limited series is called For Such a Time as This, Biblical Hope in a World Gone Mad. We'll see you next time. Take care. Goodbye. Thanks for joining us for Such a Time as This, Biblical Hope in a World Gone Mad. We look forward to the next episode and hope you'll join us. Take care.